Too close to the passage, no? Can't see. Okay. Good evening, everyone. I just want to check with you first if you are able to see clearly and whether you are able to hear also. If the sound is good, can everyone is able to hear clearly? If you can tap on the chat so we can understand. Okay. 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 Very good. Okay. Good evening, everyone. So before we start this live stream of 1 hour, so first we will ask you to, before we start any of our lectures, what we do to calm the mind and to gain concentration, we'll ask you to close your eyes. So if some of you are doing meditation, if some of you are doing Nam Jap, repeating God's name, or repeating some mantra, then you can close your eyes and do that. And the others who doesn't do, you can focus on breathing. We will do that for 2 to 3 minutes, and then we will start. Okay, we can open our eyes, and then we will start the lecture for tonight. So first I will introduce myself. My name is Cyriaque. I come from France and doing spiritual practice for the past 20 years. I've been living in India for 10 years in an ashram, where I was doing full-time spiritual practice. And I'm in Europe currently and traveling around Europe. But now, because of the restriction, we cannot travel. So just to share about SSRF, it is a Spiritual Science Research Foundation, and it has two objectives. One objective is to explain about the spiritual dimension and how it affects our lives, positively or negatively. And a lot of research is done using also biofeedback machine to understand the effect on human being, plants, animal, as well as environment, And all the research, you can see it freely on the website. And one of the second objective is also to help seeker to grow spiritually in their spiritual journey, all the way to God realization. And of course, it is. I invite you to go to the website because we have more than 750 articles on different topics, like pertaining to spirituality or spiritual practice, and how to, by reading it, sometime how you can implement at home in your daily life. And it is translated for now in 23 languages, done by Seeker as their service to God. So for tonight topic, it's about the world problem that we are facing and the current situation that we are in. So of course you can ask different questions in regards to that, and we will, in regards to answers, we will try to give more from a spiritual perspective, and just to see that what happened, knows our life has been changed almost completely. Some have been told to stay home, so we are not used to that. So of course we have to find ways how to change our habit, especially in today's time. What happened due to the, we can say, we can do anything and we can get everything in a fast speed. Like we can order anything online we want and we get it when we want as well. So in this generation we live in, we have developed a habit of having a very comfortable life. And suddenly now things have changed. So of course we are not used to that. So first, if you can ask questions, Guillaume, who is there, will pose the questions. I can take one by one. And then if in case I speak too slow or too fast, let me know on the chat as well, so we can correct. So, and tell me if you can hear clearly as well. So this is the questions. I think is the coronavirus is a retaliation from Mother Earth, and what lesson we can take away from this pandemic. So about what we can say, whether, as I shared before, what is happening, whether it is actually coming from Mother Earth, whether it was made by uh, human beings, or whether it came naturally. Everything happened as per time, and we are now in the cyclic of the universe, going towards a different time. So currently, all what is happening, whether it is coming naturally from Mother Earth, like natural disasters or pandemic, or whether it is a combination of Mother Earth and human being of wrong habits. In a way, everything is connected to time. So what we are facing now. And what was this? Yomi, if you can go back to the questions, because it got deleted. And then what will the lesson now that we have to take away is that what I shared in beginning, that ultimately now we are used to live in a very comfortable life. And if we look back, probably our parents or grandparents was not having the same comfort as we do. So I think we have to see how now maybe to change our habit, to adapt now to the current situations. And as well to see that our mind has become unstable as well. So it gives us a chance now to work on ourselves and to actually grow spiritually. And that is very important, that this lesson that now we can experience all the difficulty, not only from outside, but from at mind level. And that is something we can do by trying to remain stable in those situations. I will take a question from Renard Flas teacher. So what is the next step after the corona in the next 4 years of trouble? So Renard, actually, yes, there are, we have shared in our first live stream that is just the beginning of the difficult time ahead. And there are different problems that will come. One will be I think we are going towards that an economy a problem. Now even everyone is saying that the economy will probably either crash or there will be difficulty, whether it is in the next few months or in the next 1 year. But this is something that is inevitable and we are going to face it soon. And the second is increase in some natural disaster. So that also will start happening and start growing. We can't say whether earthquake is today, volcano is tomorrow. On our website, we have predicted, there is predictions that was published for the past 13 years, explaining about the mix of all those problems, pandemic, problem of natural disaster and conflict as well between some nations. And this will keep on rising from the year 2021, 22, and 23. That will be the culmination. But now, what will happen in the next few months? Definitely in the 5, 6 months, there will be something new. Just we can't say what will be, but definitely just for us is to prepare ourselves mentally for the difficult time coming. This is a question from Tarishi. How beginners should start meditation? So see about to start meditation, or we can say chanting, repeating God's name. That is something that it is we initially we may find difficult because to be able to do meditation with those having many thoughts in our mind, especially now we are more like worried about what is going to happen. So there are more thoughts. So to try to have no thoughts in mind, that is actually the aim of meditation. That can be difficult. And to be in no thoughts, that is actually the target in meditation. It takes years of practice. But of course, there are some who have more capacity and are more capable. So one easy step is chanting, repeating God's name. Why? Because it can be done anytime, anywhere. Why? Because meditation, you have to be in an environment that is calm, peaceful, no sound. And in chanting, it can be done all the time. And at one point, what happened when chanting or repeating God's name is established, then meditation happen. See, to understand, no? It is not meditation, it is not the body who meditate, it is the mind who meditates. So chanting is achieving meditation. When mind is in meditative state, then it can be in an awaking state also by walking, by doing different activity. But that takes time. So what is your question is correct. It is a very important tool we can practice today about developing chanting because it helps us to reduce the different thoughts in our mind. It makes our mind more stable. And when we face situation, we are able to do better decisions. So you can say, if I answer your question, if you can type on chat whether your question was okay or whether it's not clear and I need to repeat something. I will take another question that is from Linda Adeline. Will the sense appear to help the aspirant of God in the difficult time or in the difficult coming years? This sense, actually sense from higher level, they are in a state where they already are by their presence only they are able to purify the atmosphere. So whether having presence of a saint in front of you or speaking to a saint, it may help or it may be temporary because it depends on whether we are doing spiritual practice or not. So definitely saints are helping or saints that main aim is to reestablish a positive environment that is conducive for spiritual practice or is conducive for a human being to grow spiritually. So whether they are helping directly or indirectly, they are helping by their presence. There is another question from Ketaki Patil. My son is almost 4 years old. Do I have to also do coronavirus chant for him? It is something you can do because it's a small child, no? So at that time you can chant for him, and something you can do, you can also play the chant in the background. So at that time he's able to hear also. This is a question from Nicola. During the adverse time, will seekers and scent will also be affected? See, again, it depends. Ultimately, a scent, his mind is not there. So by mind is not affected. And scent of highest level, mind, intellect, and is not there. So they are not affected at all by mind and intellect, but they can affected by body. Let's say if there is no food, no? But ultimately a scent of higher level will not have any problem. But today's time, highest negative energy can affect a scent at body level, but not at mind and intellect. Sense of higher level, they are in bliss state. They remain in bliss state. We can ask questions about those difficult time also. If you have practical questions, how to go for those difficult times that we're experiencing today, what problem we will experience in few years that we don't know. But today is important. This is a question from Sebastian Cortes. He said, will it still be possible to make rapid spiritual progress after 2024? So the question is, in a way, yes, but today's time is a golden opportunity to grow fast. Why? Because the time are difficult. The negativity in the atmosphere is difficult. So if we do spiritual practice now, the growth can be 50 times more than a normal time. Later on, what will happen after the 2024, the rate of progress will not be the same, it will be much less. But if someone is having a lot of desire for God realization or is doing intense spiritual practice, then progress can be very fast. Ultimately, to make rapid spiritual practice, rapid spiritual progress, desire is very important. Desire to grow, desire to make progress, or desire to realize God. So there is a question from Ravi Desai. How do we keep away from social media and increasing negative news and focus more on spiritual practice? So in a way, what we are saying, Ravi, is just that today we look at news or social media, it is full of those problems that we are facing, and there is a chance to be how to say entangled in it and keep on reading and reading. And what is important in spirituality is time. In worldly life, what counts is money, but in spiritual field is time is very important because time cannot be taken back again. So we can try to stop ourselves to keep on reading whether this is which conspiracy, which economy will happen, which country is more affected. It's good to know from time to time so we understand what the world is happening. But ultimately we should not get stuck in it or waste time and use that time to do spiritual practice, to grow spiritually. There is a question from Subodh Nayar. Sometimes I used to do chanting without getting fresh due to time restriction during working day, and I get thoughts that I should do after getting fresh. Please suggest to overcome this sort of mind. So I'm not too clear about your question. It is not clear to me. If Suyognaya, if you can type again your questions, I will take another question and I will come back to you. In a question from CA, I always feel fatigued. Is there any way to keep me awake and always boosted? Will it be chanting or what spiritual exercise? Okay, that is actually a question that we explained that many times. some people who, despite good sleep or without doing exercise, they can't get up in morning, or they are always tired, or when they got up, they have low energy. So usually that is a sign that we can be affected by negative energy or ancestors problem. And one thing that can help is, yes, chanting is one tool that is very effective because it when we repeat God's name, there is one principle: name, form, and energy coexist. So when we call or we attract that name, we attract that energy within us. And this will give us energy as well, will give us a protective seal. And another things you can do is saltwater remedy, because we have many case studies which you can see on the website of seekers who were suffering some from insomnia, fatigue, depression, and just sometime by doing the saltwater remedy daily, even twice a day, sometime the symptom reduced. So it's for some of them it completely vanished after some time. And but just I encourage you, you can also go on the website and you can type saltwater remedy in the search box and you will see a explanatory video. This is something we can do, and it is a very simple remedy and very effective to remove the, we can say, the negative vibrations that we collect during the day and get accumulated around us or around our aura. There is another question. So from Kate, sometimes when I pray, I have very calm moment of communion with God, but my worldly life stressor pull me away. How can I sustain this moment longer and I stay focused on God? That is a good question, Kate. And see, prayer is similar. Like, no, we pray when we are our mind is calm or when we are in a peaceful environment. But then what happens? We have to go outside. We have to go shopping, or we have to do different activity. Somebody talk to us with reaction. So at that time, that communion with God is lost. So this is what I shared before, similar to meditation. Chanting is a easy tool because whenever we go outside, walk, somebody also may talk to us, or we do some activity. At that time, chanting inner mind can still continue, and that automatically help us to have communion with God. So it is not like when we chant, we will have communion with God all the time. But this is possible that when we chant, instead of being connected for few minutes a day, like meditation or prayer, at that time we are able to remain connected much longer. It's like Wi-Fi. There is another question from Pratap Kumar, that is, in the current time, is Samashti Sadhana better than Vyashti Sadhana? So I will explain, maybe for some of you who are not familiar with those terms. Vyashti Sadhana means individual spiritual practice, and Samashti Sadhana means collective spiritual practice. So yes, today, because of the difficult time, spreading spirituality or collective spiritual practice is much more important. But for that, base is important. That means our individual spiritual practice should be good. See, if we want to tell others about chanting, we should chant ourselves. Otherwise, when we say to others, there will be no force or no chaitanya, divine consciousness in our words. So we should practice ourselves, then tell others. So in today's time also, if you know others who have difficulties, tell them, do chanting, salt water, so help do spiritual practice so we can encourage others. But it is very important also that we should do ourselves. This is another question from Yoga Maya Dasi. So she said, if we do spiritual practice during the adverse time, will God look after our family and keep them safe? So if we do spiritual practice, ultimately, whatever happened to us or to our family member or others, there are what we call individual destiny and collective destiny. This is something we also talk in our previous lectures and live stream. So collective destiny, see, we can't do anything until unless our spiritual level is very high, we can change it. But unfortunately, we don't have that spiritual capacity to change collective destiny so much. Individual destiny, yes, to some extent, we can do it better. If we do good spiritual practice, our individual destiny gets better. So protecting others or changing others by our own spiritual practice, it may not help them. Why? Because what will serve them, it is a spiritual practice, or depending on what is written in their individual and collective destiny. So there is a question from Vishnu: how to mentally prepare for the time to come? How do we remain calm and focus on spiritual practice despite the situation outside? So that is a good question and practical. So actually, Vishnu, this is important to same thing. What is the worst enemy of ours? It's our mind. Because depending on the situation, we will react. Whether we are worried, stressed, we feel anger towards what is happening. So at that time, what happened? Our we will have different type of reactions, or we have to stay at home, and we are not used to that. So we feel restless, we feel impatience. Other tell us something, we start getting angry. So ultimately, everything comes because of our mind. Our mind will react. And for that, there are two ways how to help to reduce the strength of our mind. It is to chanting is one that we have already shared how to do chanting. And the second is how to reduce different defect within us, is how to overcome different defects such as anger, emotionalism, fear, worry. Especially those defects will surface much more now. So there is a process how to work on it. It is just not by sitting on sofa no, and trying to change ourselves, we can overcome our mind. I think many of us must have tried now. I want to be a better person. I want to I don't want to get angry. I don't want to feel emotional. But when problem come, we can't stop that wave coming from our subconscious mind. We can't stop it. Even though by intellect we know very well I should not do it. Because mind has much more power over us. It overpower our intellect. That's why now we have some time still in hand to reduce those defects within us. And that process is simple. One is introspection. So introspecting what are the different situation I'm feeling stressful or emotional or worry. And there is one we call an auto-suggestions. It is a suggestion that we tell to our mind repeatedly to counteract the negative tendency arising from our subconscious mind. And that for that we have free satsang. We have free satsang online. Uh, I think Guillaume will paste for you. We have some satsang online. It is free on FCC, and some of them are on Skype in English and different languages. And we just help seekers that we have shared before. No? That SSRF one aim is to help seeker to grow spiritually. After that, whatever path you follow is okay. But ultimately, when our mind becomes stable, our mind becomes pure, then it is easy to follow any path. But ultimately, to purify our mind, one is chanting and one is overcoming defect. And we give that platform of support for seekers in our free satsang. Because of course now I invite you also, we have some workshops and lectures where we will also have, so you can join and register. But ultimately, to work on ourselves, it takes time. There is no shortcut in spirituality or spiritual practice. We cannot have a pure mind just by willful thinking. We have to work on ourselves. It takes some time, but what is God's grace is there also. That's why we need God. So if we chant, pray to God, and try to make sincere effort, then ultimately there is a possibility to reduce the effect of our mind. And this is one of the best tools for today's time to be able to remain stable. There is another question from Nona Salimi. Isn't it better meditation on picture of deities for faster spiritual progress rather than chanting the name of God? See again, here what is important is what is important is name, form, and energy coexist. So when we repeat a name, we attract that form, we attract that energy within us. Until unless our spiritual level or spiritual capacity is high, just without chanting, we're able to get God's energy. But ultimately, chanting is a first step. There is another question from Pranav Atwadkar. I'm sorry if I pronounced not properly your name. I apologize, all of you, if I have not pronounced French or my accent may not be proper. I am studying Ayurveda. Ayurveda is Indian ancient medicine. We will also need the Ayurveda in coming hard time. But I also want to give time to my spiritual practice. What can I do to make spiritual progress sooner? So it is nice and it is good you are studying that science of Ayurveda. Yes, Ayurveda tomorrow will be very useful and will come back much more and be used like more widely. So see, there are seekers now who are studying, but you can see how to use your time. And beside of your study, you can try chanting. You can try to use my attend satsang, work on our defect. And because he's same, no, we have seeker who does studies when they start chanting or when they start to work on personality defect, their concentration increase and whatever they're able to study better. So there is another question now from Dalibor Luc. After the coronavirus comes economic collapse and nuclear war or World War III. What happened after the coronavirus? That is, now we're in the year 2020. So, yes, there is a big chance that the economy will start collapsing because now the coronavirus is in a way the first domino. And but when it will really start being visible, whether it will be in 6 months, 1 year, that we can't say fully, but it is soon. It is at the doorstep. Next, about conflict. Different conflicts will start rising in middle of the year 2020 in Asia. So that will start more rising slowly. It is not like this World War III, we can say, will start really culminate from the year 2022, and the nuclear weapon will be just the end, complete end of the war. That means 2023 towards the end. This is where this nuclear weapon will be used. But before that, there will be other problem that now we are facing is one is a pandemic. There may be in future some other type of pandemic. There may be also some different type of natural disasters that some have already experienced some week ago in Croatia, some earthquake. So like that, different earthquake, flood will also start rising in this year 2020, but the intensity of those um, natural disaster will start growing in the next few years. So, and ultimately, in the 2023, it will be a accumulation of everything. There is another question. His name is You Are Right. So, but you can type your name or you want to keep privacy. How much time do you advise us to spend on spiritual activity every day? Now we are kept at home. Actually, uh, as much as we do spiritual practice, the better. So that is the best thing we can do. We have how many hours we have. If we can use for spiritual practice, is the best thing. Of course, Some of you may be working from home. Some of you maybe, of course, have to cook, take care of children. So we have different duty to take care. But we can study our time. We can see how much time is needed for the different activity and leisure, and how to start reducing leisures. That's why I watch TV 2-3 hours per day. It's not productive. But whether I can start utilizing those time for my spiritual practice. Again, let's see what happened because of what happened now this pandemic, and we are at home. We start wondering now. We start thinking what I should do. But now we have still time, some time in hand, some pocket time in our hand to do spiritual practice. In maybe 1 year or more, that pocket time will be less because we will be confronted to different situations. So whatever more spiritual practice we can do, it is the best. Ultimately, if we want to realize God, it is full time only. We can't say I want God and I want the world. It's not possible. If we want God only, we have to offer everything to God. But ultimately, how to go step by step, is to start reducing our leisure time or the time we are wasting unnecessary, and then started to do step by step how we grow spiritually. Again, we don't grow spiritually in 1 day, 1 month. No, it takes time. There is another question from Aji Padmanabhan. So I work in Dubai. Should I leave my work and go back to India? That you can see, Haji, what we mentioned in our site many years ago, that Middle East will be greatly affected. When it will start, we don't know. But definitely, see, many places in the world will be affected. India also. But India may be a more secure place than Dubai or Middle East. There is another questions of Sunidas. I share article to neighbor, friend, family, and members at abroad on WhatsApp. None of them reply, and I feel one of other days they may follow. Should I keep sending article about spirituality or stop? That is a good thing, Sunny, what you did to start telling others about importance of spiritual practice. So you send now to them. So what we can do now, when we tell somebody about spirituality or spiritual practice, we can tell them 1 to 3 times only. And if they are not interested, then trying to continue, it's not needed, because once we waste our time, and then it will increase our expectation, our reactions. So whatever we say, whether you send on social media or on WhatsApp, or you tell them, we say 1 to 3 times. If they respond, okay, we speak to them, we tell them, we help them. But if somebody is not responding or not interested, there is no need to try to pursue. There is another question from Lu Itakasha Survana, is how to make meditation more interesting and exciting in the initial stage. So as I shared before, no, until and unless we do spiritual practice or meditation for a long time, then we're able to go to higher state of meditation. But from beginning stage, ultimately, our mind will keep on sending thoughts only. So in meditation, you may have good day, if the time is peaceful. And if you are disturbed, it will be difficult to meditate. So what you can do is you can club meditation and chanting. They are not, how to say, opposite from each other. They help each other. And ultimately, no, same what I said before. There is no secret in spiritual practice. We have to put into practice. There is another question from Brit Indian. A lot of people are saying like the virus is a hoax. Can you comment on this? What does it mean, like oak? I'm not knowing that word, so maybe if someone can type on the chat the meaning of oak. I will come back to your question. There is another question from Ketaki Patil. Even if desire is there to grow spiritually, the action don't happen. How do I overcome that? Okay, that I understand. Actually, what you say makes sense. Many have desire to do spiritual practice, but again, finding difficult. The action don't happen. So our desire says something, but our mind is putting the resistance to put things into action. So there are two aspects for that. Is one is to plan, is how to inculcate uh, my spiritual practice in my daily activity. So one is it has to be registered. No, it takes some time. So some, let's say we get up no every day. We know we brush our teeth, we take bath, we eat. Everything is done because we have done that for so many times, for so many years. But if we start to inculcate some different step, let's say I will chant for 10 minutes before my breakfast. Then we are able to do it. No, but if I say I will do chanting after my breakfast, that will not work because our mind will find excuses. No, but if you say I will chant first 10 minutes before my breakfast, I will not get my breakfast. So like that, no, we tell our mind, we command our mind. So we plan, and we can see how to plan like that with through different activity that we perform during the day. And the best is what is to write it on a piece of paper, either on a piece of paper or on mobile, and like that, and how to plan. Because if we keep it at mind level, oh, I will do like that, the chance to forget is very big. Why? Again, because mind will take it on the side. The mind will take it astray. So the best is to plan it, type it, and some what they do, they put plan in front of them. So they remember, oh, now I have to do that. Now I have to chant. Now I should do some self-introspections. Again, now I should chant. So like that. And slowly, slowly, it becomes an habit. This is the worst enemy now in spiritual practice is our mind. And that is that resistance. Even though I'm sure many of you who are coming here tonight, you may have desire to change ourselves. You have desire to grow spiritually, but it is difficult not to put into practice. That's why that determination is important. And determination, how to do it? We can do it through planning. It is a simple way. And again, it takes time. See how we develop muscle. We don't develop muscle within, I'm going to the gym. No, I don't develop muscle within 2 weeks, 1 month. It takes time to develop muscle. Same, it takes time to create an impression on spiritual practice in my mind. So like that, we should be consistent. We should give time to it. Okay, I go back to Brit Indian. A lot of people are saying the virus is false or not real. Actually, even though what we see on news, no, there are so many things. What we are seeing today is many people are dying. Many people are affected by the coronavirus. So the virus is real. That is not something that is not real. And ultimately, every country make a decision on their own. So every country has to face those restrictions. So what we are facing today is real, it's not a fiction. So Sumit Singh, other question. I'm not able to concentrate on my chanting and seva. I feel more depressed. Okay. So see again what happened now since the coronavirus started. What people are experiencing worldwide, an increase of negative vibration everywhere. Once is lot of people's mind get disturbed. Plus negative energy is very strong today. So today many are finding hard time to concentrate on meditation, on chanting. But again, what is important is we should continue because it is important to do spiritual practice now. And there will be some days that will be easy and some days that will be more difficult. Definitely when there will be new moon and full moon time. At that time, the resistance or the difficulty may be much more. There is another question from Renat, slash teacher. No, I think we took that question. Huh? The question is, do you think I will be able to travel? So that is one question actually. Will be able to travel. Sorry, this is a new question no, from Renat. Yes. Sorry, Renat, I will take your question. It's a new question you asked. In the 4 years to come, which area of the globe will experience the most devastation? And which one of the list do you think will be able to travel? So in the we have shared in the website in the year coming some country like India. We don't know when it will exactly start, whether in 1 year or more, and Middle East. So there are different countries that will be affected. Some will be affected much more. And after 2022 end, we may not be able to travel. What we are experiencing today, nobody is able to travel almost. Everything is shut down. So we can see such a pandemic now, virus has shut down all world. So if tomorrow we have tornado, volcano, pandemic, then it will be even much more. So whatever luxury we have experiencing all those years, they may start reducing and becoming to end. So what is very important, we have to start changing our habit, the way of how we live. We have to start changing. We have to see how to adapt ourselves to a more simple way of life. So that may take time, but better to start today than in 2 3 years, because in 2 3 years the restriction will be 10 times more than what we are experiencing today. Because now, okay, we are some country you have to stay at home, no, but there is still food available, there is still water available, electricity available. But in the 2 years to come, there may be shortage of all of that. So we have to start changing our daily habit. And one aspect is to be able to sustain that. Spiritual practice will be our support. There is another question from Varsha. I try to do PDR, mean personality defect removal, is overcoming defect and change. But when situation I get affected and practice goes down, what can I do? So what you mean is when you try to work on yourself, and then when you face some certain situations at that time, this practice goes down. When you find difficult either to chant or you find difficult to introspect and work on overcoming defect. And that is, in a way, yes, for many who tried, until and unless this habit of spiritual practice is ingrained within us or strong, then whether there are different situations, it will not disturb us. It will not stop the spiritual practice. So that's why now it is better to try to increase it, and no problem. What is important in spirituality, or spiritual practice? I'm trying to do. Now I'm not able, but the moment I become aware that I'm not doing anything, again I will start. And again I will start with a new zeal. How much day it will last? 1 day, 1 week, 1 month. Again it will stop, but again we should start now. Important, we should not stop. We should keep on continuing. Why? Because we are trying to fight our mind, our resistance. And when you continue more and more, what happens? No? We are able to continue longer. Our spiritual practice lasts longer. There will be always ups and downs until and unless we reach a higher level of spirituality. There will be like that up, down, up, down. But ultimately, again, God is there also to support us. So if we try to pray to God or to keep the spiritual emotion that God is there, then God sees us, no? See, God is everywhere. God is omniscience, omnipotent. That is a quality of God. So if we are trying, God will definitely help, no? But we doubt of it. Of course, we have to face our destiny, but God is there. But we are not able to realize God or to see God. We expect God to come in the front door and see us and show us sign. But it's not like that. God doesn't come on the front door. God many times come from the backside, help us in some way or another. But we are not aware or realizing that ultimately God, if we are doing spiritual practice, God is helping us many times, but we are not aware. When we make spiritual progress and we grow spiritually, then we start experiencing it. We start to experience that God is there with me. God is helping me. We are able to recognize. And that what we experience bliss, spiritual emotion, and that is far, far superior than the happiness we are experiencing today. Now, with the current situation, usually what we experience, happiness, unhappiness. But now, with the current situation, we are experiencing more unhappiness than happiness. And what spiritual practice will take us, it will take us above happiness and unhappiness. It is an experience of the soul that is bliss, that is blissful. I will take another question, one question from Frank Nguyen. Upcoming time food will be less. How to get the most of our food through spirituality? See, what happens is when we do spiritual practice, we get energy from God. So ultimately, our desire become less. So our need become less. So we are able to sustain in some better way. There is another question from Spry Motivator. How to change community destiny? I think I am spiritual, but people near me getting contaminated by the virus. People near me don't do spiritual practice as desire. Am I safe? Yeah, ultimately, no, we can't change so much the destiny of others. But if we do spiritual practice, our destiny and collective destiny become less. Then we are more protected. We are going to have one session that is in 2 days. I invite all of you to come. It's called collective chanting. So what we will do is, so it will be a live stream session also. For 1 hour, everyone will gather and we will focus on chanting because that practice helps us to increase the positivity within us. This is something Guillaume will also paste and you can register also on the website or join in the live stream. We still have a few more minutes. So this is a question from Anaga Deshpande. If I am trying to chant throughout the day, but the chanting is with no concentration because of some daily activity, is it still helpful? Yes, Anaga, in a way, see, we can do two types of how we do. One, we can do by sitting with concentration. So that, of course, when it is done with concentration and in mind, it is more effective. But after that, we have to do activity, cooking, walking, cleaning. Some are working. So at that time, we can do it in mind, or we can repeat also aloud. That is also okay. So during activity, that also helps. So either you are at home, we can listen to the chant, and then we can do the activity. It will have effect. If we can repeat in mind, it is better. And for those, when you try to repeat, you find very difficult to repeat in mind. At that time, you can repeat in aloud. It's called Vaikari. That means you can repeat like that. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. You can repeat aloud. And then slowly it reduces the thoughts in our mind. But the best is to do it in mind. So there is another question from Ketaki Patil. Even if desire is there to grow spiritually, no, sorry, apologize. We have already answered these questions. It is another question from UCall21. What to do to attract good energy if we have the heart? Sorry, I just scroll down. If you have the heart chakra, apologize, I can't see. If we have the heart chakra dead and blocked, see, our chakra are not dead, they are just blocked or dormant. So what is more important is when we repeat God's name, we attract energy from God. And then it creates a protective shield around us. And slowly, slowly, it starts purifying the different chakra within us. So that we should not worry. Because automatically, when we do spiritual practice or we make spiritual progress, that energy start rising from the lower chakra through the kundalini and start cleansing slowly the chakra. So that happen automatically. So more important is do spiritual practice. Don't worry about chakra. Automatically we get protection from God. Our mind becomes stable, and automatically when we reach a higher level, chakra get purified. There is another question from Atul Kumar. How do you define spiritual progress? This spiritual progress is what happened. No? We are able to feel calmer inside. That is one of the first we feel, no, I am the body, I am the mind, I am just one. And we experience happiness and unhappiness. If sometimes we are distant, sometimes we are happy. And when we start growing spiritually, we start feeling different, that there is something else. I'm just not only the mind and intellect. I'm not only the body. There is something else. We start having glimpse of experience of something like we can call bliss, but it is for a fraction of a second. We start to feel more calm. Our mind become more stable. That is second stage. And when we start growing further spiritually, we start to experience more calmness, more bliss from inside. We are not affected so much by some outside situation. We are able to remain stable. Our spiritual practice is going on most of the time. At that time, usually chanting is happening almost continuously. Our reaction in our mind towards others become less. Our expectations towards others become less. We accept others. We start having less judgment. We start appreciating others, loving others to some extent. At another stage, what happens when we grow more spiritually? We start experiencing that God is within me and God is around me also. And we experience more spiritual emotion, more bliss. We are able to accept everybody. We don't have so much judgment or anger. Our reaction are very less. We are able to have love for others. And that the higher state is the person is in bliss state only. They are able to have purity. This is love without expectation for everyone. There is no judgment, no reactions. That is at the highest level. Ultimately, for us, what is important, we can study our mind. Do I have reactions? Do I have expectations? Am I chanting? Or am I enjoying myself? How much time I'm giving to spiritual practice? See, we can't reach a certain stage and do no spiritual practice at all. That is not possible in spirituality. So, dear seeker, we are coming towards the end of this session, and I think you have many more questions. Of course, you can join. We have different lectures that we have that may be helpful. That is tonight and tomorrow. how to go from anger to calmness. Also, Guillaume will paste for you those links. We have in today a collective chanting group that we will have. Also, you can join. All those events are free. And we will have in few days another session like that about question and answer about being stuck home and of course your questions. So I invite you, of course, to try spiritual practice that try to do in a steadily, in a step by step, in a planned way. So I hope you learned something from today's um, live stream. Good evening to everyone and namaskar.